Greetings. Welcome to the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable. I'm Rob. Directly above me, somehow, the man who usually dwells in the basement.
I snuck up the back way.
Yeah, he stole a set of keys. It's Galen and Vishal in the far corner. A very quiet Chris Perry to my left, but that's because he's elsewhere on the site right around us, handling the gauntlet with the CEO of Filament Health, Ben Lightburn. It's worth checking out. Do that, but also listen to what these fellas have to say. It's Filament Health Corp, FH, on the FH.NEO exchange in Canada. They're based in Vancouver. And I believe Mr. Vivi will speak first.
Oh, I'll take it. I'm going to grab this one and run with it.
Mr. GE will speak first.
Awesome. Sorry. No worries. Filament Health is in a sector right now that's feeling the punch. Yep. Psychedelics has got a kick in the teeth. Everybody's hurting. Basically because the industry is faced with a great deal of challenges and went through a overvaluation to start with. There was a lot of FOMO going on. But realistically, the wheels of legislation turn incredibly slowly. So we are waiting for these companies, a lot of them, to start making revenue. And since most of them are basing their revenue on the actual legalization of their psychedelics to be used in treatment, it's going to be a long time coming for some of them. Now, Filament, however, is a different animal within this group. They've managed to actually generate some revenue generating, there we go, can I be redundant? They managed to create some revenue generating avenues already before the legalization hits in terms of licensing to other manufacturers, and also in their approach, their IP can also be saleable to other individuals as well, licensed out. Their approach is different than a lot of others. They are intending to naturally extract, well, I shouldn't say intending, they are doing that. They have proprietary processes for making that happen, patented as well. And the reason for this is that they want to emphasize the entourage effect, which, has recently become a bit of a buzzword in terms of the cannabis world. We're talking about terpenes and other compounds that are within the plant that are not THC based, that are apparently adding to the effect or grooming it somehow to change it and channel it. So they believe in this concept that all the articles that are within these organisms contribute to the healing properties, so let's keep them in. But the problem with doing that is the ability to make exact dosages, because everyone's taken mushrooms before. Sometimes you take a handful and you just don't know anything other than you've eaten some stuff that you really detest. And sometimes you take a handful and trip the light fantastic. So you don't really know what you're going to get at any one moment. These guys extract the compounds out of the plants themselves after growing them naturally, as it were. Actually, it's not as it were, they're growing them naturally. And then develop a clinically stable and reliable dosage, and also developing methods in which delivery that can get the drug to where it needs to be and increase its bioavailability, because basically it isn't very bioavailable. So that's the value proposition behind Filament Health. And I've always sort of backed them because of this idea. And as I said, the ability to earn revenue without having everything in place, which most of the other companies are waiting for. And as a result, the whole industry is feeling a bit of a kick in the teeth.
Kick in the teeth's no good.
Yeah.
But the numbers have slid around a little bit, as Vishal will get to momentarily. But thoughts first, charts second.
Before we take a look at the charts, there's two news that we should cover that came out. One came out on February 23rd, 2022, and then one a month later. And the first one is Filament and ATMA Journey Centers announcing a licensing agreement. So basically, Filament is now entered agreement with ATMA Journey Centers, who are Canada's first private therapy company to conduct legal psilocybin therapy. Through Health Canada Section 56 exemption. And, just looking at studying and learning about this whole psychedelics sector, there's a lot of, Section exemptions that you need to basically conduct business here. And we should mention, right, that Filament does have that Health Canada license as well. On their site, we were looking at the fact that there is going to be an upcoming catalyst, which is the PEX-010 drug candidate, and that is actually going to be, it looks like, used for clinical trials here in ATMA, and that is essentially their naturally extracted botanical drug candidate. A month later, or just basically 2 days ago from the time we're recording, a second patent issuance, and this is a second patent, from the Canadian Intellectual Property Office for extraction and standardization of natural psilocybin and psychedelic compounds. So, when it comes to, as you see, unnaturally natural psychedelics, these are the guys, and they have their Health Canada licenses and their patents. And I think in previous shows we've said that this is probably our favorite sort of natural psychedelic, maybe not just natural, but psychedelics play in general, just because of what they have. When we go to the charts, as Galen mentioned, not much love on the psychedelic sector. A few months ago, we were looking at the potential rolling over, or not rolling over, reversal of psychedelics as we were looking with cannabis. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, if you're a cannabis investor, it looks like the psychedelics are not joining in just yet, whereas the cannabis side is looking to maybe confirm a reversal sometime soon again. And a lot of this could do with, market caps and, sorry, not market caps, but overall broad market, environment right now. And, if we are relying a lot on government deals and regulations, government might be preoccupied for the next few months with inflation and maybe even food issues, right? That's what we're hearing. So, it looks like psychedelics, a lot of the psychedelic space will rely a lot on, government regulations in the future. So maybe a lot of this stuff is still weighing in psychedelics, but I'm here to say, let's have some optimism here, and we'll find that when we look at two of the ETFs that I always look at to basically gauge whether we think psychedelics are ready to reverse. And I know I've been saying this in multiple psychedelic roundtables that we've done, but maybe we have something now, and I'll walk you through that once again. But first, Filament FH.NE here. This is the daily chart, and yes, we have just been ranging essentially between 15 cents here and 11.5 cents here. We actually did hit record lows on the 24th of February when we hit prices up around 10 cents, and since then, we've just been ranging. So no breakout, no breakdown just yet, but on the day we're recording, a pretty bad 11% down day here, and it looks like we are going to be retesting that 11-cent zone, support zone, once again. So if you're one of these sort of bottom picker type traders or investors, this would definitely be a good area to add or to initiate a position. I would say for the actual reversal trigger, you would need a close above this resistance level here, which is 15 cents. And a lot of this will make sense because when I look at the psychedelics sector ETF, so again, PSIL, which is Advisor Shares Psychedelics, and then also PSYK, which is Horizon's Psychedelic Stock Index ETF. These are the two ETFs I use to gauge whether psychedelics are ready to reverse. And, looking at the first one here, PSIL, but you'll see the same thing when we look at PSYK. It's just been, a downhill ride, right? We're still on that roller coaster heading down, and we're just waiting for that bottom. And if I recall, the last time we were talking about psychedelics, we were actually looking at this space right here. We were looking at that price action back in February, and we're like, hey, there could be a bottom here, right? We're seeing a range here around $5, maybe PSIL, and all the psychedelic stocks are ready for a pop. And I think even MindMed had a pretty decent move around that period too. So a lot of people thought that might be that leading indicator, and a lot of these other psychedelic stocks will follow. But instead, we broke down, and that's why these breakouts and breakdowns on these ranges are very important to actually trigger the move. So no breakout just yet, but we are now again, we did hit record lows on the PSIL at $3.41. So we hit lows there. And I am seeing what sort of looks like a inverse head and shoulders pattern here. But essentially what we need, though, to actually confirm this would be a break and close above $4.50. And once we get that, that is a breakout essentially. And I would say that the downtrend is over. If you don't really want to work with patterns, you're sort of old school, I guess. Well, not old school, but if you just like looking at pictures, right, you can draw a trend line like that, just connecting all these lows here. And you can sort of see that even with this close line right now, we are actually above the trend line. So there might be some bullish action here in the psychedelic space in the next few days to weeks here, but I'm still watching 450. We get that breakout here. I think you're going to see a lot of the psychedelics break out and follow what the ETF does. And then finally, PSYK. Funny enough, take a look at that, right? So this was the last time we did our show. We were talking about this breakout above 418. I even have the line still drawn out. I'll get that out of the way because obviously that didn't work out. But again, this is why it's really important for us to wait for those breakouts, which didn't actually happen. Sorry, I said 450 and I'm at 420 here. But you can see instead we broke down lower and we broke down lower and we hit lows on the 24th, which funny enough was also the same time Filament hit record lows, right? The 24th of February, and this was at $3.06. And this is PSYK, and same sort of structure, right? We're now again beginning to base. But as you can see, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to reverse because we just need that breakout. So if we can get a close above 370, maybe then we can actually talk about a breakout and a new bull run for the psychedelic sector and space all together. And once these get triggered, once PSIL gets triggered, once PSYK gets triggered, I think you can safely say Filament Health will also trigger with that break above 15 cents. So, it's a sector that's very cheap, I would say, right? As a whole, right? PSIL and PSYK have just recently hit their record low. So we are technically cheap. For some people that are looking for bargains, maybe psychedelics is where you want to look.
We're having that spring. You brought up pot, and you kind of made the analogy. I think it was Tilray that went up 36% this week. So they're having their little springtime surge. Last year it was in February. This year it's in March. Who knows where it's headed? But they often discuss both because one's kind of trailing the other. So we'll see what happens. It might be a good time for the old psychs. Which brings us to our next most important question. Does Galen think it is time for a resurgence of the psychs with the 7,500 bones?
Well, what we discussed right from the start and what Vishal has added to is that the industry itself is in a slump. And rightfully so. It blew out of the gate way too much. And the evaluations were way overrated, and all sorts of FOMO and the typical with the retail investors of today who are more attracted to meme stocks than they are to fundamentals.
Well, Kevin O'Leary was there too, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he was. Him and Jim Cramer. Now, right now, I think we might have. I don't know about the sector itself.
Yeah.
It's still a bit iffy in terms of if there's a breakout to be had. But if we want to get granular, if we wanted to sort of move from the sector, from the indices to an actual company base, I think Filament for a $20 million valuation, 12 cents a stock, considering what they have under the hood in terms of IP, in terms of licensing deals, in terms of upcoming catalysts, what we talked about with you talked about in terms of clinical trials. The company has probably hit bottom. Now, as we said earlier, that they actually pitted the same day that the Indus pitted, and basically right now, today, have hit that same level. So I'm wondering if they are indeed testing a bottom that they probably won't go beyond because they haven't gone beyond it before. They've bumped along it. My guess is they probably have. Now, whether or not this is going to pay off tomorrow, next week or 2 years from now, or even 5 years from now, which is a pretty long poll, but whatever, that's to be debated. It's all resting on legislation and general acceptance as a treatment modem, or modality, I should say. So what I would like to do right now is I wouldn't mind dropping $2,000. Let's just take a look at it. It's a pretty safe bet in terms of value loss. I don't think I'm going to lose everything I have, but I would like to see some catalyst happen and where it's going to head from there before I start dumping more money in. But pretty safe for me right now to dump $2,000 in and see where it goes. That's what I'm doing.
Vishal?
I'm going to be a little bit conservative here. I like the fact that, we are quite cheap, right? Market cap of 20 million there. There are catalysts ahead. I can't ignore the technicals, right? Like I do love these type of longer downtrending markets because nothing moves down forever and nothing moves up forever. So one day these psychedelics have to reverse, right? Again, it might not be next week. It might not be a month from now. We tried to predict that last time, but that technicals just didn't give us that breakout. But for Filament at 12 cents, it does look like the company is very, very cheap here, given some of the news events that have come out and future catalysts that could also help drive the stock higher. So what I would do is at this bottom, as a bottom picker, I would buy $1,000 here, and then I would wait for the PSIL to break above 450 and PSYK to break above 375. Once that happens, once we get an actual confirmed close, I say that more eyes will be attracted to psychedelics. A lot of people will say, hey, this is the reversal. It looks like that downtrend is over. And I would then increase my position. I would double my position. I'd add another 1K on that breakout there, which hopefully it would be a breakout of 15 cents on Filament when PSIL and PSYK jump in. So put 1K in now, and then allocate your full position once you have the actual reversal there on PSIL and PSYK. And once that actually happens, I would hang on to the stock for a bit longer, just because I would say that the psychedelic sector had this downtrend for a long time, and now we're overdue for a bit of an uptrend, right, which might last for a few weeks to a few months. Well, actually not a few weeks, but a few months, right? But again, we just don't know what that trigger is going to be to cause that breakout. And we've seen it in the past where the technicals look really good, but we just didn't get that breakout. We instead just drifted lower and lower. So I would just say, as a bottom picker, 1K here, and then wait for the actual reversal there, which again could happen maybe tomorrow, could happen next week, could happen a month from now. And then that would be your gauge to add to Filament and maybe other psychedelic stocks that you have your eyes on.
By the way, Gail, and I'm sure Chris down there in the corner, he's going to go full 7,500.
Oh, yeah, right? He dropped the whole wad. Went to the bank, signed a check. He's done.
Why not?
Yep.
I mean, at least one of us is going to be there when it hits. So.
Yep.
And I have a feeling we will be talking about pot here in the next couple weeks. Maybe not next week, but the week after, as we record this one about psychedelics. It is again FH. Filament Health on the NEO exchange. Is very interesting little position at this moment. And you've seen what the fellows are doing with their cash. We suggest to you to please do your homework, do your research. Do not assume anything. Oh boy, that's always dangerous. These fellows know what they're talking about. They can't guarantee anything. Neither can past performance determine future results. So please do your homework, and we'll see you on the very next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.